I don't know why.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just unmuted you for a moment. I'm curious who
Yeah.
this is.
This is Pat Callahan still.
Awesome. Well, Pat, thanks for logging in. It looks
I
like,
signed in under the other link. You had two links in the invite. I used the
oh,
second one, and now I can speak.
okay, good to know. Okay, I'm going to put you back on mute, and Al and I are going to get started. So if you want to talk, and we'll let everyone know this, all you have to do is raise your hand, and I can unmute you, and you can ask questions. So this is pretty great. Okay, it's 11 o'clock, Alan, and I believe in punctuality, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so I made some slides. We're not going to use slides a lot on this, but I decided to make some slides just for us. Actually, this is from the National Association of Mutual Insurance Carriers Conference. So I just took the same slides and repurposed them, right? Repurposing is a thing in marketing, I think. Repurposed them for this webinar. So the topic of that presentation was machine learning and policy automation. Yeah, so I invited you on to talk to us about that. Talk with us about that. Kind of a loose format for this. So I'll tell you what I was thinking, and I'll get your feedback. There's a bunch of people attending. There's some ideas that I sent over for you for what we should speak about today. But really want to make this more of a conversation, right? You're supposed to have conversations with people. You're not supposed to talk at them like I'm doing right now. So let's have a conversation about machine learning and insurance. How does that sound?
That sounds great. That's
Excellent.
very efficient of you to repurpose slides.
Oh, that's what I do. By the way, this is Alan, everyone. So Alan, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. My name's Alan Egbert. I am co-founder of Ask Kodiak, and I'm just reading off my slide, as you can see. So I've known Chris for a while. This should be interesting because we'll get on the phone and talk about topics like this. So we thought we'd record this, see if anyone would show up and just kind of listen to us go back and forth and get it more interactive. So,
yeah, and real briefly, I believe the founding story of Ask Kodiak was you were doing a lot of dating on Match.com, and then you said, "Wait a second, dating is a lot like buying insurance, so I should create the Match.com for insurance policy appetite." Do I have that right?
Okay, that's mostly a lie, but
Close.
It accurate, but no, it is, the concepts are similar. So Ask Kodiak is an appetite and eligibility service. It helps brokers find programs that potentially would match to the risk that they're trying to write. And it's interactive. It's about communication. It's about engagement, and that's about as much as I'm going to plug it. But
Cool.
but thanks for the plug anyway, Chris.
Absolutely. And if you all have questions, you can ask them in the Q&A. I haven't figured out polling yet, so we won't do polling. We have a few surprises built into this, an amazing theatrical display that we'll provide later if you hang on till the end. I don't even know how long we've booked this for, Alan. Is it 30 minutes, an hour? What did I send out?
I don't know, but for the sake of everyone, let's hope it's shorter rather than longer.
That sounds good. Okay, we should actually talk about machine learning then, since that's the topic at hand. Okay, so here are the 4 topics that we said we would cover. How I discovered machine learning, that's number 1, right? So I know you have a background in machine learning, Alan, so I'm actually more interested in your background. What is machine learning with a question mark? So that's a question. That's what that means when there's a question after a sentence. Number 3, we're then going to talk about insurance problems that might be solved by machine learning. And I really want to talk about maybe applications for your software too, Alan, like how it could work with Ask Kodiak. I think that's kind of interesting. And then you too can do machine learning. So some, lessons learned. I think the main thing I've learned about machine learning, and I had no clue about this, and there's actually a really great article that I can share with everyone afterwards, but machine learning is basically R&D when you first start. It's just research and development. It's painful, it's cumbersome, you have no clue if it's going to work. And I think that's also why it's really tricky for big corporations to do. It's also tricky for startups because you can run out of capital very quickly trying to do it. So we'll circle back around that. I got a joke for you, Alan. Are you ready for this?
This should be great. Go for it.
Okay, so we're moving on to how I discovered machine learning. Have you ever heard about the law firm that I started at?
No, but it doesn't look like that's how you spell your name, but
Oh, well, I used to spell it differently, and I had to get out of the practice of law. That was my first law firm. So I'm a recovering attorney. This is where I work in some slides a little bit and figure out if we like slides at all, Ellen. I feel like I'm supposed to repurpose these, like I said. So I'm a recovering attorney. This is how I found out about machine learning. So this is a client that we had, Rio Tinto. I used to work at a big law firm in DC. Rio Tinto does really great stuff for the world, like mining and that sort of thing. And so their general counsel actually was quoted in an article one day saying, I'm done using first and second year attorneys. We're going to outsource all that overseas, right? And I saw that article. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So that's the moment I wrote the moment I realized the world is flat. It's a Thomas Friedman book that I really like. And then it went another step, right? So then these cases started coming out about predictive, it's called technology assisted review. So it's machine learning applied to litigation documents. And so Rio Tinto once again appeared as one of the very first companies ever to try technology assisted review. And the lawyer said, yes, you can use this to figure out what documents you need to produce in litigation. So very quickly, I realized my job, what I had been doing was reviewing documents. I spent the first 3 years of my legal career spent 6,000 hours reviewing emails, right? And realized that was going away because first people that were charging less than me were going to be doing it, and then machines were going to be doing it. So yeah, that's how I learned about machine learning. Curious about your background in machine learning. You're more of a practitioner.
Yeah, what this sort of reminds me of is you probably have the same experience. I get messages on LinkedIn all the time from sometimes it's agents, sometimes it's underwriters who and they'll ask questions like, am I going to have a job in X number of years?
Yeah,
and you can go find, look, I'm on the technology side. I'm a programmer. You can go find applications that claim to do the same thing with programming in terms of being able to automate a lot of this stuff. So, but the message I got recently was this, essentially from an underwriter who's worried, and it always starts with, I love my career. I love what I'm doing. I'm happy with my choices, but I'm worried about my future. And this stuff is always sort of at the root of it. I think a lot of it's also just because it's widely misunderstood. I mean, in the 15 years I've been kind of dancing around machine learning, I mean, there's been a lot of gains, but, we're still not, under attack from cyborgs from the future or anything like that, or maybe not that I'm aware of. So it's funny. I actually had no idea that's why you left law. I thought it was probably closer to like you got disbarred or something. This is good to know. This is good to know that you were actually inspired to go do something.
Well, I mean, the whole way, entrepreneurs tell stories that makes it seem very clean cut. So this is the story I explained for why KodiakGenius started. What I didn't fill in the gaps was there was actually 2 or 3 years where we weren't doing machine learning. We weren't doing policy review. We were just doing claim document management, which literally was me sitting in a trailer scanning documents on Easter, like in California, right? So the first time I ever went to Silicon Valley was literally to go collect 2 trailers full of documents while people are still working there. So my clean story is not as clean as it sounds when you start digging in. So thanks for exposing me on that. I appreciate that.
All right, you're welcome. I'll do it again.
Yeah. So this leads to, I think, a question that's kind of interesting. One that actually I saw CB Insights actually had this yesterday. Because CB Insights uses machine learning to parse and understand SEC filings. I don't know. Do you read CB Insights?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the question the guy posed was, how do you convince people that machines can do some things better than humans, particularly when you're talking about kind of those boutique services or boutique, or in Kansas we say boutique. So boutique services, right? And
I'm with you.
Yeah. So I have this slide up, which I had no idea that I was going to segue into that well, but even lawyers now are starting to understand this machine learning can work better than them. So I think there's like this, and if there's a data scientist on this call right now, I apologize for botching this, but like there's precision and recall and accuracy and all that stuff when you look at machine learning. And it's been shown in these studies, and this particular, actually, this law review journal Humans are something like 65% accurate or precise when they're doing large reviews of documents, whereas these computers can be 80 to 90% accurate, right? And so that's law, but there's not much difference between reading legal documents and reading insurance documents, in my opinion. So, yeah, I guess.
And the gain has to be even better over time. Like the longer you're doing it, and the volume, you're probably, humans and machines are probably closer in accuracy at the beginning, but then there are things that start setting in over hours of review. You take out human fatigue and just kind of like cognitive awareness and, energy levels, and a machine's not going to lose efficiency over time on review, where, someone like you might lose it. You're usually easily distracted in 30 to 60 seconds by the next thing of the rope. So anyway,
that is so hurt. We need, like, next time we do one of these webinars, we need some sort of sound effect for whenever you burn me, as the kids call it. Like for burns, like maybe a fire sound or something. Can you work on that?
Yeah, I'm working on it right now.
Okay, awesome. Quick aside story you just reminded me of. The very first 2 weeks of when I was a lawyer, this partner came down to my office and he's like, Chris, he grumbled when he talked. He's like, Chris, I need you to find the right documents for this case. And then he walked out of my office, right? And then a paralegal shows up and she's like, all the documents are down there in that room. So I go down to that room and it's literally just a room full of probably 50 banker's boxes of documents from a construction site. So I sat there for 2 weeks reviewing them. Didn't even know what I was looking for, basically learning about the project. So that particular project was the Montgomery Point Lock and Dam. So I get done reviewing. I didn't even know the name of the project that I was reviewing at the time. I just knew I was supposed to read the documents. So I remember getting done with the boxes and I sat back kind of like this and I looked around the room and I looked at the sides of the boxes, right? And I had this horrible moment where I realized the boxes were from a different construction project.
Whoops.
Yeah, so that was horrible. And like, that's the type of thing where honestly a machine would, if a machine makes that, if you feed those documents to the machine and you've programmed it properly, built the proper machine learning index, number one, if you're not wasting time by giving it those documents, it takes 2 seconds. And number two, it's going to see, these aren't even relevant to what I'm doing. So
yeah, no, it makes sense.
All righty. Let's move on then. What is machine learning? Go ahead, take that one.
Well, you want me to take that one?
Yeah, go for it.
Just blow it off. So, for machine learning is, and going back to my grad school days, it was about using algorithms on data sets to basically train them, and then going forward, inserting new data sets in to be able to make decisions and kind of like rational reasoning on new outcomes. So that's pretty much what you wrote there, sort of.
Yeah. This is I like this definition. I took it from someone.
Hey, look who just walked in.
Oh my Lord. This
coming back from lunch. Yeah, he's already wondering what the heck's going on here.
That's the other Kodiak. So great. Yeah, I like this definition from a website that I should cite, but I never will because I refuse to do citations anymore. So the parts that I underlined, they're very important. So remember those when I test you on this. At the end of this session, Alan, I'm going to ask for a better definition of machine learning than what you just gave me. So
got it.
Give me this one.
Got it. All right.
But yeah, so here's one thing that I think about whenever I see this definition is data. Like, everyone thinks insurance has all this data, and it kind of does, but it kind of doesn't, because, and this is going to sound trite, but it's not structured data. In my opinion, it's unstructured data. Like all this data, like if you don't know how to get access to data that you need to solve a problem, then you have unstructured data. If you can access it quickly and use it for finding a solution, then it's structured data. That's a very simple, pithy explanation, but it's the one I like. Do you see that? So we're talking about, on my side, we do insurance policies. You're doing risk appetite. Do you encounter the same type of data?
No, seldom. I mean, it's structured, but it's always, the simplest example is when you go to a meeting, everyone's got a spreadsheet that's, organized a certain way, and it makes sense to the author of the spreadsheet. But 5 other people in the meeting might have their own versions of that spreadsheet. And so, that's a simple example. we always encounter, we'll get data sets, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to basically, somewhat structure classification in our world. Not that we're not in an attempt to make it standardized for the world, but to just make it repeatable and reusable for folks who use our SaaS platform.
Yeah.
But I have 2 calls this week, just to help some carriers get going. I see a variety of different data sources, and that just kind of undermines the challenge just in terms of insurance, whether we're talking about policies or we're talking about appetite guides or we're talking about underwriting guidelines or rating algorithms. It emphasizes the complexity of the world we're in.
Yep.
And how difficult it could be to maintain that stuff over time.
Okay, so if I get into your secret sauce a little bit too much, just tell me.
No, that's all right.
So I have the appetite guides, right? Somebody sent me an appetite guide, and it was like, are they typically hundreds of pages? That's what this one that I saw was hundreds of pages and very complex, but it also looked like the type of thing that if you have the right machine learning tools, you could extract actual structured data from that appetite guide.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not uncommon. I think the challenge is when you, it's like all things, when you update a large appetite guide and say it's even a PDF and you send it to your producers or your appointed agents, how do I know what's changed?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like I have the last guide and I have the new guide. It's a very simple example.
Yep.
So that happens all the time. You
Yep.
get the guide because, hey, now you're writing in a new state. Maybe
Yep.
that's the only thing that changed across 50 pages. So it's similar to what I know about your technology. It's this idea of, well, what was it before and what is it now and what is it next week, and to be able to know those differences over time. That's very valuable.
So, okay, then talk about those changes from one appetite guide, let's say V1 to V2, are carriers hiding those on purpose and making it difficult for someone to find them, like the producers or the,
I don't think so. I don't because it's not necessarily an issue of transparency. It's hard to maintain that stuff. I mean, that's really, look, communicating is hard, no matter what line of business we're in, whether we're in banking or manufacturing or insurance. And when you have a network of users, so in our world, we have a network of users. We've got agents and insurers.
Yep.
Communicating effectively, hey, this is what we want. And I've often joked on LinkedIn, I've said, carriers will say to me, hey, my agents know exactly what we want. And the agents will say, I have no idea what they want.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to, how do you effectively you communicate it in a way? It's like, these kids were sitting around in a circle in class, and it's like you start with, this catchphrase, and by the time it goes all the way around the room and comes back, it's that exercise. It's very different than what was originally said, in the first link in the chain. I mean, sometimes it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So.
At this point, I'm going to pause and ask, well, if someone has the Q&A little module and they see it and they can, oh, by the way, this is my cast because I have a broken thumb. Thumbs up. Let us know. Is this going okay or not okay? Ask, give us some feedback or ask a question. We're really curious.
Yeah. And sign Chris's cast at OnRamp next week.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah. If anyone's in Chicago for OnRamp next week, I'll be there talking with one Ted Stuckey, who may be on this call or may not. We have no idea because we can't see who's on this and who's not.
I think Ted left about 5 minutes into this.
Uh-oh, we have a chat going on. Thumbs up. Oh, we just got a thumbs up. I don't know who you are, thumbs up, because it's my name. I didn't actually. Whoever you are, if you tell me who you are with a name, I will send you a Risk Genius t-shirt for giving us positive feedback. If you give us negative feedback, we'll send you an Ask Kodiak t-shirt. Does that sound good, Alan?
That sounds fair.
Okay, fair enough. All right, bringing us back. Then, one other thing I was going to comment on, it seems like there's so many processes that, like, if a broker or a appointed agent is the end customer for an insurance company, there's so many processes that can be fixed for them. Like in my world, one of the processes that can be fixed is telling that customer, here's what's changed from last year's policy to this year's quote. and they don't do that really, right? And like plug for Genius Check, which is what we're attempting to do with that. But I
Yep.
mean, to me, that just is such an obvious thing, and it just doesn't exist right now.
I think you and I have talked about this. There is also a great opportunity in terms of education that could come as a result of a lot of these companies for just that trickles down even to the policyholder in terms of what they have insurance for. Because it's at claim time, that's usually when they get today, 9 times out of 10, when they start getting educated on what they are covered for and not covered for. And there's a lot of tools out there that don't really change anything other than help educate. I know as a policyholder, I've been in insurance technology for a while, but I still need support and tools to help me understand whether it's my personal insurance or Ask Kodiak, coverage that we have for our business. There are lots of things now that could even give just simple educational guidance from year to year to help me understand impacts and changes, just to make it clear for me.
Do you read your car insurance policy, your home insurance policy? I always ask this question to people.
No, I don't.
It's not. I don't
because but I do use an independent agent for my home policy, and they have to help walk me through that. But I do think a more informed policyholder is just that is like a real benefit from some of these technology companies that are emerging, and how we could start doing things like that. It's more than just, hey, it's the typical, I've been hearing this for 15 years from analysts. You got to be able to get on your phone to be able to quote or to do this and that. I mean, that just scratches the surface of some things we should be extending to the policyholder in terms of what we could share with them.
Yep. Cool. Okay, so I want to take an interlude, and one of the cool parts I think about doing a webinar is that we can bring in multimedia from other sources and use it.
Yeah. And look at your web browsing history too. That could be a webinar within itself.
It's just I just read really, really smart stuff. You wouldn't probably understand it, Alan, but
I wouldn't.
Really start. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. There's this thing I heard about, so I was researching it this morning. Google's voice generating AI is now indistinguishable from humans. Kind of cool, but like, I want you to tell me which one of these is the robot and which one's the human. You ready?
Yep.
George Washington was the first president of the United States. George Washington was the first president of the United States.
The second, the computer.
Here's another one.
That girl.
I'm sorry. What was I correct?
Lipstick.
I have no idea, to be honest with you. They Google put these out, and they actually aren't telling people which one is the.
That's interesting.
That girl did a video about Star Wars lipstick. That girl did a video about Star Wars lipstick.
Like they.
Yeah, I mean they are. They're indistinguishable for sure. I mean,
so I was thinking, could you imagine the crazy stuff like you could do with this if you jump on, for example, somebody could take this, right? Take our voices from this. If they have enough data, feed it to this engine that learns your voice. And then all of a sudden somebody else is hosting a webinar with our voice and doing whatever they want. That's insane.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But aren't they doing it with video already too?
Oh, yeah. It's a mess.
It's as soon as they rendered Princess Leia in Rogue One, actors started becoming, scared about their intellectual, I guess their faces or intellectual property or whatever, and worried about that getting reused again. So I mean, this is like Mission Impossible stuff in terms of impersonating people.
Yeah, I was going to go Google, because I remember there was a video someone made of Barack Obama talking, and it sounded exactly like Barack Obama talking.
I've seen that one. Yeah.
I'm going to go run a search for that, but I don't think that's a good idea live to do searches like that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pass on that one.
We'll hold that one for next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let me see where we're supposed to be. Any questions? Anyone want to ask any questions? You can do it in the chat or in the Q&A. Otherwise, we're going to keep prattling on. And I see that someone is logged in from London, so I believe that is a British word, prattle. So you're welcome. See why I did that?
You are a global InsurTech thought leader, so I would expect that type of acuity from you.
I'm actually a global InsurTech phenom. Did you know that? Mm-hmm.
Let me jot that down.
Yeah, write that down.
Yep.
Intro me that way. Actually, let's try it real quick. Go ahead and introduce me, Alan.
Why don't we move on to the next segment of your?
All right, sounds good. I have these examples of how Risk Genius works. I don't know if that's interesting. Should I skip that? Should we go to something else? What do you think?
It's up to you. What
All
did you?
Well, I was just going to show people how we structure our data. Like, so.
I haven't seen some of this stuff, so yeah, I know a little bit of it. Let me.
Yeah, somebody said, let's see it. Okay, great. So actually, I have an example of a clause here, right? So actually, is this where? No, example of an insurance clause. So let's say we want to train up a machine to understand, or let's say we're a human and you're trying to understand this clause. What I do is I would skim, right? I also am a professionally trained lawyer, so, you know, take this with a grain of salt, Alan. You probably couldn't do this. But I look for certain words like does not cover and in consequence of war. And more importantly, I look for that war word right there. Let's bold that.
Yep.
So when I see that, I'm like, okay, that is probably an exclusion for war, right? Simple, right? Sounds simple. And it is. That's why we can do it. But it's also so simple that you could train machines to do the same thing. So machine learning learns the same way. It takes this and it looks at all these words and letters and it determines, you know, okay, based on this, and then somebody will give that machine a label. All right, so now I attach this label, exclusion-war, attached to this clause right here. Yep. So then imagine we've done that for millions of clauses, which we have at this point. And I think we have, I don't know, 3,000 or so categories. Last time I checked, that was sometime last year. So then you want to go to the next level, right? How does an human improve their learning? These are all examples of war exclusion.
Zoom in on that a little bit. It's a little bit.
Well, I actually do that on purpose, but I can.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
I got it. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's fine. So these are all examples of war exclusion clauses, right? They're all different, structured differently, but you label them again. And this is a human going through these and seeing these. So they've learned then over time that these are all variations on a war exclusion clause. Okay, I get that. Again, a machine learns the exact same way. You feed it the exact same data and you tell it what it is. But then you get to a point where the machine can take this and understand all this data when, imagine if you're a human trying to keep track of all these clauses in your brain, or even this level. A human can't remember all these clauses. They have little remnants of this data in their brain, whereas the robots or the machines or whatever you want to call it, they never lose track of this stuff. They have it forever, right? So that's a simple way I think about our technology and how it works. And then take this and multiply it by hundreds of thousands, if not millions. And that is, I mean, it's bonkers actually when you start thinking about it. And the same.
And obviously your stuff gets better as the training set gets larger and the model, you know. So are you at the point where it's like you've got the model and now it's like, how do I get as much data to, you know, to train the model, to tune the model? I mean, is that where you're at as a company?
I mean, I'm less interested now in tuning the data. I think, oh, there it is. We talked about that, Alan, my little messages popping up. Tuning the data, particularly on this categorization piece, isn't as big a deal. What's a big deal, what we're working on right now, is taking all these different clauses that are in part of a larger document and identifying them, right? So that's the piece we're working on. There's two big parts. How do you, number one, get to this as a clause if it's buried within a document? And then number two, how do you apply this label to it? So we figured out how do you automatically apply this label to it. Our technology is pretty awesome at that. The next step is how do we pull this out automatically from a policy? So we're using some computer vision technology. If you ask me what that means, I will move on to the next subject.
That's all right. You got a question. I think you got a question too. It sounds like someone said same, but different, meaning same meaning, but worded differently.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Actually, I know where they're going. So yeah,
all right.
It would be all different war exclusion clauses worded differently, but they all in the end mean the same thing. And so that's what we're training up the machine on. And that's also why it's really hard to do this in insurance for insurance clauses for one carrier. If you're one carrier, you should be using the same exclusion for war, although they don't, for most of your policies. And so maybe you have one or two examples. That's not enough to train up a machine. You need to do it across carriers. So yeah, we like to diversify our data set from the carriers as well. Somebody has a question. They actually raised their hand. I got to figure this out. who raised their hand? Oh, they put their hand down, I think. Okay, no hand raised. All right. Next, we're supposed to talk about, I got to zoom out. Just start, Alan, right now, start.
Yeah, sorry, I made you zoom. Sorry about that.
That's okay. 3 insurance problems solved with ML. So, you know, when we were at the conference that I did, I jumped into KodiakGenius and showed some examples. So we can do that, but I'd rather talk about some other examples first. If anyone wants to see a quick little, like how we use machine learning in KodiakGenius, happy to do that. Just put it in the comments. Somebody said
you're getting a yes, please. Please do a sample.
Okay. All
this
right.
is cool because I haven't seen some of this stuff in a while, so I'm curious for sure.
I'll show you something totally crazy, actually. All right, so we're gonna log in real quick. Wouldn't it be great if it was down right now? No, our software never goes down.
Or if your password was actually password.
You can't see my password. Our stuff is so secure. Okay, so I'm going to my account. Okay, so some simple.
So what are we looking at here? Just in general, like what am I looking at? This is the app.
Yeah, this is the app. This is the KodiakGenius dashboard, right? It looks a lot like other simple document management systems. Folders, documents, uploading occurs right here. So I'll show you 3 examples where machine learning is built into the software, in addition to where we're taking the clauses and categorizing them. So war that includes terrorism. Actually, war. We're going to just search for the word war to start, right? That's just a simple keyword search. Most software has keyword search. I'm sure Alan's even probably figured out how to do keyword search at this point in Ask Kodiak. Is that right?
Yeah, we enjoy a good search.
You enjoy it? Good. Okay, so that's a simple keyword search. When we showed this to people, they're like, well, that's fine. You showed me all the clauses in your database that include the word war, but we actually want it like Google, right? We want to be able to search and find something based on context and how it's written. So war that includes terrorism or government or authority.
That's the tough part. It's the context. It's not the keyword.
Yep, no, absolutely. Keyword, I mean, keywords basically, if you don't have keyword, you're way, way behind. Most people have keyword search and can find documents based on that. But now I'm going to search based on phrase, right? So if I'll show you first. If I do a keyword search for this, I will get 0 results, no results found, because this is what I call like an idea or a concept. And so now I want to do a phrase search, run a search. And so it takes this and it runs it against all the clauses in our database, and it gives you a score and returns the most relevant clauses. So war exclusion, which is exactly what I would expect, and I can cycle down and start seeing more examples of war exclusions in our database. Right, and so then maybe I find some language that is really important to me. Oh, interesting, confiscation or nationalization. Copy that, add that right there, run another search. Okay, great, now here's some more that are more on point. And so you can keep whittling down till you get to the exact clause you need, right? It's really funny when I show this to people, if it's a kind of just out of school person that's just got into insurance, and I show this to them, they just kind of shrug their shoulders. They're like, what else you got? And then when I show this to somebody who's more senior and been doing this for a while, they're like, what kind of voodoo magic did you just do, right? So that's simple search. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's cool. Like you should wire that drill in just right from the results. You know how you copied and pasted back into your search bar?
Yeah. Yep.
So like highlight something and then just, trigger a search piece even from there. Just
interesting.
Cut the clicks down. I mean, I'm just one place. I'm always thinking.
No, I appreciate
thinking about the wrong stuff, but who knows?
No, I appreciate you critiquing our UI live on the webinar. That's great.
No, I think this looks great. I don't no disrespect.
No, it's all good. Okay, so that's one example. I'm going to show you a more complicated example. This is our analytics module, and you will definitely gripe about the UI on this. That's totally fine. We just got this out a couple of months ago. So there's this problem that the carriers most carriers have the same problem, especially the big specialty carriers or the big commercial carriers, which is, hey, they'll come to us and they'll say, hey, we have 10,000, 100,000, 500,000 forms, and we don't know what's in those forms, and we want to rationalize all the language. How do we do that, right?
Yeah.
You know, we really had we started out trying to do that back in 2015. We've been working ever since to get to the point where we can do that. So the first step was to figure out how to structure and classify the data. After we figured that out, we then figured out this really neat example, this analytics module. So what I'm doing, I'm selecting a benchmark policy. I'm going to do this ACE cyber policy. And then I'm going to go pick the definition of, I don't know, what's something. Actually, let me pick a different policy. Somebody have a question? Nope. Okay, no question. Great. I'm going to do definition of claim because that's that's in a lot of policies. And then I want to go compare the definition of claim in this Admiral policy to every other definition of claim in all my other cyber policies. So I've selected that folder. You can see those documents then all listed out here, and then I'm going to run a report, right? So I just ran that report. It is running as we speak, so I have to fill like probably 30 seconds of time. So what it's doing is it's scoring definition of claim here against this definition of claim, and then the results will appear magically. It's nothing like doing a live demo on software.
Yeah, this is real. This is good.
Yeah, there it is, right? So you can see Admiral's clause got a score of 100, and then it drops immediately to access at 51. That's a really big drop, by the way. So then I can go. I like to export and.
So how do you read that? If you're below 50, I mean, so you're below 50%. If you're 47%, you know, we're basically talking like blackjack odds. You know, in terms of, you know, what is that telling me? 100%, I know, but.
So what it's telling you is these are highly dissimilar clauses. And well, I'm going to pull up the Excel spreadsheet so you can get an idea and see the example. So this the definition of claim from Admiral, right? Score of 100. And then there's the definition from Axis, the next closest. Completely different, just night and day difference. And then you scroll down. What's interesting is this scoring right now is based on word similarities that appear in both clauses. But we have version 2 of this done where it's actually bringing in a thesaurus effect. So it'll start understanding, okay, this word means that word. So score them very closely, even though, oh, we have a question. Oh, this is great. Answer live. Okay. Question is, do you have much data on UK policies? We do. We have a lot of cyber UK policies that we've collected and brought in. And then we're starting to work with UK companies as well. We've received Lloyd's policies and that sort of stuff. So the answer is yes. And then when we work with our customers, they bring in all their UK policies. We've tested and made sure that our algorithms work great with them and understand them, and they do. It's very similar to USA-based language. Thanks for the question. If I didn't answer that, let me know if you have follow-up. Yeah, so that's what we do with machine learning, Alan. That's just a little taste. Just a little.
That's good. That's good stuff.
So
that's I mean, imagine if do you have any plans to do anything kind of like API driven, or is that stuff you're not ready to talk about yet?
No, we do. We were like, it's weird. Like whenever I get an inquiry from a startup, I'm always like, oh, and I've actually, you know, you and I have talked about what we could do together. And it's tricky because we're going after big enterprise customers, and you can imagine the laundry list of features that they want to build in, and they just documents, right? So you have to
imagine getting a score though on like some sort of piece of language that I could send to an API, and you give me a report result like that back.
Yeah, it's awesome. No, there's.
I mean, that's where my head goes first, just not knowing what you guys are thinking about in terms of your roadmap, but that's kind of where my head goes when I see stuff like that.
No, absolutely. So we'll do APIs. I mean, the other API that's really obvious is like brokers or carriers that have their own systems, their policy admin systems. If they want the RiskGenius structured data and the scores and that sort of thing, push it to RiskGenius, pull it right back, you know, and we're done with it. So totally good with that too. Somebody else raised their hand. I don't see who raised it though. So let me see if I can figure this out. There it is. Okay, I'm going to allow this person to talk. Please don't embarrass us. Do something amazing, right? Oh, they put their hand down. Whoever raised their hand, put it back up. I promise we'll put you live on the air.
They just said mic's off.
No, mic's off.
You may not have a mic they could use either.
Okay, yeah.
That's why I'm on Bluetooth. I can't. All right,
Okay.
they're going to type it.
Cool. Let's see. Let's get ourselves back on track then. So that is, yeah, that's how KodiakGenius uses ML AI. Can you talk about like where you're thinking Ask Kodiak will go if you're going to use ML or AI or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely in research and development mode, but we're, it's no secret to anybody that we're sort of experimenting right now with just chatbots backed by machine learning algorithms. The big part of it's going to be just how usable it is and the right platforms. But agents tend to use things that they really like using and have told us they would be inclined to take advantage of search if it was available in a form like that. So we're not going to, probably do, I imagine, and not knowing, and I'm not teeing you up if I am, but so be it. But I imagine you guys have invested probably a lot of R&D just in actual physical development of machine learning algorithms and whether it's neural networks or expert systems.
Yep.
Like for me, I'm more inclined probably to use things that are out there. Yep. And maybe put more of an emphasis on the data I have and try to take advantage of software as a service, which is not to pick one or the other, but obviously Google has some excellent stuff, Amazon has some excellent stuff, and our appetite data and eligibility data, or at least some stuff I could do with matching, it doesn't. It's data of a different nature than what you're dealing with in terms of policy clauses. So it's less sensitive. It's stuff that no one's going to be uncomfortable if I use a service like that to make some analysis and suggestions back to a user who might be using it. So I love the possibilities of where we can go with that. But like everything, like you got to deal with every day. There's always like 100 things you want to do, and
of course, yep.
and where do you put your chips down to invest your time?
Yep, I just talking this morning about how we want to put more chips in the data science part of our business because we have a great chief scientist and we need to get some more resources around him because our platform is called Johan. That's the machine learning platform behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So, it's fun stuff.
I don't know. Like we could probably do a whole one of these just in terms of hiring and where you're getting your talent from. But I know like the one good thing about like just the energy and the interest in what's going on in our world and insurance and technology, all of that is that it's starting to draw a lot more interest in from the outside in terms of just technology interest. Like in Boston, there was a time I'd be competing with, still do, but we've got our presence of Silicon Valley companies in Cambridge and Kendall Square, and companies like ours are starting to become more interesting, or as an option for folks who may not want to go work for a big Silicon Valley company, because the projects are becoming a lot more interesting.
Oh yeah, finding people really isn't an issue for us, at least. Like it's trying to match this is going to sound ridiculous, but match the demand with the resources and kind of all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was out in Silicon Valley, San Francisco area a couple weeks ago and had this amazing conversation with a VC that had bet previously on disrupting brokers, right? They're like, okay, brokers are going to go away. We'll invest in technology that, fixes that. It didn't go as they planned, and they
won't be the last to try either.
Yep. They took a year off and they said, now we're interested in technology that enables brokers, right? So that's what we're looking at now. So,
well, we were, however this ends up for you or I, we were at least ahead of the curve on that one.
Yeah, no, it's
supporting the broker efforts.
Yeah. The Peter Thiel book, 0 to 1, like one of the most important technology people that exists today. And he's like, there's people will be augmented by technology. They're not going to get replaced. And I'm a huge believer in that. So
except for lawyers.
Except for lawyers and average CEOs for startups.
Let you know if I come across one.
Oh, awkward. Okay, let's move on then to, I think we're wrapping up. Actually, should I do the world premiere of our video first, or should we just plow on?
It's your video, and it's up to you.
I think we'll share the video. So we promised everyone a special theatrical premiere. So this is the premiere video of Risk Genius. Can you see that on the screen, Alan?
I can. I can see a map of North America with, non-coincidentally, you at the center of the universe.
Yep, it's basically right. All right, let's do this live. Let's do it live. This is the compare, by the way, for everyone on. So this is how you compare two documents, and it picks up the same clauses, even if they're written differently. That's definition of insured.
Nice little shot of you there at the end.
Yeah, that just snuck in. I'm not sure how that happened.
Yeah, me either.
That was what I promised everyone. If you like that, let us 10 out of 10. Look at that. People love it. Yeah,
10 out of 10.
Exactly. So next time we're going to premiere Ask Kodiak's video. They need to share that with me so that I can get that up. All right, let's move on then to the last topic. And this is a great time to ask questions if you have them. We're going to talk about how you could do machine learning. So these are kind of some tips and tricks. Lesson one, man, I can't emphasize this enough. Machine learning, when you start, is research and development. It's nothing more or less than that, because you have no clue if you're going to be able to solve the problem you're trying to solve with machine learning. So you have to figure that out. And it will take, I don't know, a year minimum to figure that out, in my opinion. Maybe you can do it faster, but it's going to be expensive if you do it faster. So, yeah. Thoughts? Do you agree, Alan?
I think so if you're gonna build everything, yes. I think you and I may disagree a little bit on this, because I said this to a group of actuaries just this week. Get out there and use some of the stuff that's available, just in terms of, you know, your own data sets. You know, like Kaggle has resources, Amazon Web Services has resources. Just if you want to dip your toe in before you kind of plunge in,
yeah,
you know, with this full-on investment, and just to kind of help yourself understand what you're getting into. I do think it's a lot more accessible than it's ever been before for people to use these tools, and that's a good thing.
No, I totally agree with that. Yeah, this is more from the corporate side, is what I was thinking. So
yeah. No, absolutely.
I have no clue about this question. Do most actuaries have a tech, like, can they program or not? It doesn't seem like that would be something that goes along.
It's not. These tools, though, aren't programming tools. It's going to be, you know, like Amazon is gonna put a focus on how your data sets, and for you to be able to organize data and share it with them. And, you know, to me, actuaries have skills data scientists have. I don't think it's a terribly big leap for them to. And I've seen it, you know, I've seen it in practice, just to kind of jump in and use some of these tools. I think if you're going to take an approach of, tell me something new about my data, or what could I learn here that I may not already know, that's where I would kind of point to things like Kaggle, mm-hmm. or you know, TensorFlow, or tools like that are available online.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, another question. I'm going to ask this one of you, Alan, because it just came in. Any thoughts regarding robo underwriting?
You mean like just completely automatic machine learning underwriting?
I think
no
so.
Human touch?
Yeah, I think so. If you want to follow up on what you mean by robo underwriting, just drop it in the comments. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I said it's yes! Exclamation point. You know, my experiences with that. So when I did agent portals years ago, actually it wasn't that long ago. It just feels like decades ago. Everyone always used vendor packages for rules engines, and you know, Pega was a big one, and then everyone else, expert systems, they got in where we would put some of these underwriting rules in there to try to automate as much as possible.
Yeah.
But in the end, there was always human touch. Complex commercial policies, you know, not today. but I don't know if there's other types of insurance that might be simple enough where that's possible. But
yeah, the example they gave was small business to business. Maybe, right? Like I could see it get there with these package policies that really never change for customers that are there, possibly. But the problem, I don't know, not with the current policy systems that are in place. I don't think you're going to have to literally tear down. I mean, I know this is trite, but I'm going to go back to Lemonade. I think Lemonade's as close as anyone to have pure automation. When you can, I realize that was a marketing thing, but to resolve a claim in 3 seconds, that is robo underwriting.
Minus the police report filing, if it's like a theft.
Oh yeah, right.
And all the other, I mean, that there are caveats around that, but anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, there's just,
I think it's so as the comments are coming in, absolutely AI in terms of like supporting aids. Like the Kodiak, position has always been it's human plus technology.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most interesting stuff.
Yeah.
But it's so that's always where we're going to kind of be putting our chips.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what we were talking about before, the Peter Thiel, humans augmented by technology. Like, think of more of a robot being implanted in your brain to do this stuff as opposed to a robot actually doing this stuff, right?
Right, yeah.
I just disclosed a secret project we're working on, Alan.
You're interfacing your brain with the KodiakGenius AI?
Basically, we're going to take all the clauses that are in our index and put them in your brain. No, not really. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, and then there's another question. Oh, what are you going to do to aggregate the clauses for the penultimate manuscript clause? I like that question a lot, actually, because we're actually working on our manuscripting module in April. In a couple of weeks, we're doing some collaborative sessions with customers and prospective customers to figure out how they want a manuscript within KodiakGenius. So I don't know if there's like a penultimate manuscript clause. I'd be actually really curious what you mean by that, because to me, manuscripting is where you create something very specific for a particular user. And actually, that's where I think insurance policies on the commercial side are going, is getting more and more detailed for that particular customer. And people are doing that, and it's causing major pain, actually, or underwriting leakage, because you have all these insurance policies floating around and nobody has any clue what's been written into them. So at some point, some people will be caught on that as well, but I think it's kind of an interesting thing that's out there. Let's see, what else? Oh, step 2, or lesson 2, start with the problem. Do you know what I'd have a picture of there, Alan?
I have no idea what that is.
Oh, you don't? Oh, this is such a great story. So this is Juicero. Have you not heard of it?
I also don't have my glasses on.
Okay,
no, go ahead. What's the story?
So this is Juicero. I'll zoom in and show you the product. So a Silicon Valley company raised, I think, hundreds of millions, if not 70 million.
Is that a juicer? Is that some sort of juicing machine?
So this is the juicing machine.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the bag you put in there. And it was really expensive, but it's, you can do it on your phone. You hit a button and then it juices for you, right?
Yeah.
So there is a ton of money, kind of think of Keurig for juice. But these machines were $700 each. And so some reporter from, I don't know, TechCrunch or something like that, they went and bought these bags and then recorded themselves squeezing them out into a jar or a bag.
Yeah.
And then so you didn't need the machine to actually get the juice.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So this company's out.
Anyone on the webinar, if you're ever in Boston, I'll make you a juice for free on my Breville machine. So the margins on juicing are huge. Like if you go to any type of store around here, you're paying like $7 to $12 for a serving. And
that's actually it's a life hack now for me when I travel, or a travel hack, because I was eating terribly. So I just look up the closest juice place now and go eat and drink there, and look at me now.
Just as a suggestion, like when you travel for business, don't act like you're on vacation when you eat. That's what our sales guys used to do at my previous company.
Wow.
True story. I had a guy make waffles from a waffle ladle. You ever notice the waffle ladle at the Holiday Inn Express? And you're like, who actually would do that?
Yeah.
Well, my sales team used to actually do that, and they would be asleep during the first 10 seconds of a sales presentation when the lights went out, because they let's start the day with 3,000 calories, before we go into a sales meeting. So juicing's preferable, Chris, on the road for sure.
I absolutely detest those waffle. I hate hotel breakfasts like that. Like nothing makes me hate travel more than that. Like planes, that's fine.
Yeah.
Uber rides, that's fine. Those breakfasts, the eggs are disgusting. So anyways, start with the problem. So what I mean by that is like people want juice. They don't want to buy a $700 machine to make juice. They just want good juice, right? And so I think that this is a pretty good example of not getting the problem right. Last one, partner with InsurTech. We're really, some of us, really smart, and we can get the job done. Anyways, but I do think partnering with InsurTech is interesting for machine learning because it's such a hugely R&D driven process. And once you find a company that's gotten through that R&D and actually understands and has created a viable product, that's just going to continue to get better at that point, right? Because then
take advantage of the R&D for sure.
Absolutely. And there's companies out there that have done that with us, and I don't blame them. I would do the exact same thing. So we got 5 minutes left, maybe, if we're going to go for an hour. Anyone have any questions or anything like that? You can just sit here awkwardly otherwise. Alan, what's your email address in case somebody wants to get a hold of you?
It's Alan, ALLAN, at askkodiak.com. There we go.
That.
Excellent.
So check out Ask Kodiak. It's pretty awesome. Appreciate it. If you all want to jump on the next one, we'll send out an email. Do we want to do this again, Alan? Is this worthwhile?
I think this is interesting. We may want to shorten them, but I like the concept of just, I don't know. It's like I always said, you and I should just start recording sometimes when we do some of these phone calls, because if people find them interesting, maybe it could turn into just you and me very, very quickly on these things by ourselves, but let's do them again. Someone said podcast series. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I think we could probably extract the audio from this and just put it on a podcast.
Yeah, because I got to be honest. You look like you just rolled out of bed.
Ouch, that's hurtful.
This side of the camera. So, are you are in Kansas City today?
In Kansas City, yeah. Hey, we just got a question real quick. I'll answer this while we're here. What kind of pushback have you gotten from carriers? I'm assuming this is on the Risk Genius side, but you can answer this too, Alan. We actually haven't. Carriers were our first adopters of the system. They're putting forms up. We are not taking their forms and then making them available to other people. But yeah, no pushback. They're really excited to have something that helps them create products faster. So no issues there. Alan, do you get pushback from carriers on making Appetite available?
No, it's I think of the world in terms of it's how long or how short. It's insurance is the long game. Our platforms are making it easier for people to do things quicker, but that doesn't mean our audiences are ready to move as fast.
Yeah.
The good news is, no pushback. Not everyone's ready to participate, but it's like all of us startups. We got to be in this for the long haul.
Absolutely. Yeah. Play the long game, right?
For sure.
Excellent. Well, Alan, I really appreciate it. Thanks for joining today, and have a wonderful, wonderful week.
Yeah, you too. Thanks everyone for joining us. This was cool.
All right. Talk to you later.
Later, guys.